Hello everyone, and welcome to Retro Brick Reviews, where today we will be taking a look at LEGO Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, set number 75945, Expecto Patronum! This set includes 121 pieces, 4 minifigures, plus 1 Stag Patronus, and it retails for about $20 in the United States, where it released on July 1st, 2019, but in some other territories it released earlier on June 1st, and in others it won't be releasing until August 1st. But without any more further ado, let's begin by taking a look at those minifigures. So here we have our Prisoner of Azkaban Harry Potter minifigure, and yeah, this is the same exact figure that also comes in both Hagrid's Hut and the Night Bus, so not exclusive, but nonetheless it's still a pretty good figure. He does get the new wand piece in dark brown, and if you don't know how these work, for one thing, they come in sets of 2, so the set does include an extra dark brown wand. And these are designed so that they can either be held upright, as you see here, or they can be pointed out for dueling, which I think is just a really cool thing they did, and I love these new wand pieces. And I'm probably going to call them new wand pieces forever, even though at this point they're over a year old, but I don't care, they're awesome. Anyway, Harry gets dark tan mid-legs, and those are another new piece that you've probably seen at this point. But if you don't know how they work, they're in between the height of normal minifigure legs and the classic short legs, so they're at 4 plates tall, or 1 brick and 1/3. And they are fully posable, though, to the exact same extent as normal legs, so they can bend all the way back and fall off the stand. They can bend all the way forward. Yeah, they're a really great piece, and it's great that they've finally been introduced for teenage characters such as Mr. Potter here. The torso is a relatively simple one, and since it doesn't have any skin tone at the top around the neck, you could use this for just, say, yellow figures as well in a LEGO City setup, or just characters with the more realistic skin tones that aren't Caucasian. But anyway, so that's a really cool thing to get, and in fact, and the detail is a pretty good level, I'd say. It's not overly complex or it wouldn't fit in with a non-licensed theme, but it's not so simple that it seems out of place with the Harry Potter theme, which does have very high detail. So this is just a really well done torso. And around the back you have like 3 black lines, but it works well. His hairpiece is actually the same one he had last year, but I think the length and shape of it work perfectly fine for the Prisoner of Azkaban, so it's perfectly good. The face print, I think, is a pretty good likeness to Daniel Radcliffe. Unfortunately, on the particular one I got in this set, the scar is slightly faintly printed and a bit off to the side. Like, you can just see it there. I think that is just sort of a one-of-a-kind issue, though, or, well, not a very common one, at least, because in all 4 other sets that I have that include this face, so in other words, all of the other Harry Potter sets that came out in July in the US, Harry's scar is printed right in the place where his hair parts, so you can always see it, and it is much darker than how it is here. And you can just watch my other videos to see that. But anyway, yeah, I think that the eyebrows and the mouth, this is a pretty good likeness to a teenage Daniel Radcliffe. Around the back, we have this slightly more aggressive expression where he kind of just looks pretty annoyed, and I think this is pretty good as well. Yeah, he's a bit squinty. It's a fine expression. Now, I do feel as though maybe even just for this scene, it would have been nice if maybe they could have printed, like, a different alternate face instead of, like, a bit of an annoyed one. Like, I think it would have been, like, really good. I said like way too many times in the past 10 seconds. But, anyway, if they could have printed a face that's like him yelling out the spell, Expecto Patronum, and they could have also used that in the other $20 set for when he's yelling out Expelliarmus to, not get murdered by Voldemort, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so that's not even a nitpick, really, because that's not something I would expect them to do. It's just an idea that they could have gone with. But other than that, this is a really fantastic Harry Potter minifigure, probably one of the best they've done of the character to date. And I mean, they've been making minifigures of the character since 2001, so that's a pretty good title for this figure to have. But while Harry is pretty cool, he's definitely not the main selling point of the set. What is the main selling point of the set? Well, there are a couple things you could debate about, but for me, it's the next figure. In my opinion, Sirius Black is the best character in the Harry Potter canon. Also the Harry Potter fanon, so it is really fantastic to finally get a new minifigure of him, since we have not had a Sirius Black minifigure since 2004. And that one looked kinda funky, so you can't really use it in a modern setting. Also, it's expensive, so I don't have that figure. So this is my first ever figure of Sirius Black, and yeah, I'd say it was definitely worth the wait, since this figure is basically perfect for Prisoner of Azkaban. Starting with the torso and legs, that outfit is pretty much perfect. Like, you have the very filthy coat. Like, it has tears in, and even at the bottom you can see, like, dark tan printing. Like, this is filthy. There's just mud caked on it. And then underneath you sort of have just the standard Azkaban prison jumpsuit. You have his tattoos on his chest, which is something that people have complained about, and I will admit, the skin tone is definitely off. It is way too pale to match with the head, but honestly, I think on this figure in particular, it's not as bad as it is on a lot of other characters. Like, on McNair and Hagrid's hut, it was legitimately bad, and it hurt the figure. But here, it is different, but it's not so bad. Like, if you're not paying close attention, you might not even notice. Plus, I mean, Sirius, he just escaped from Azkaban after being there for 12 years, waited 12 years in Azkaban. He breaks out, and now he's basically doing all his moving around at night, so it makes sense to me that he would actually be pretty pale. So yeah, I actually don't mind this slight printing flaw at all. Really awesome torso and legs. Sirius's head is, I think, a pretty good likeness to Gary Oldman. I'm not going to say it's perfect for Sirius Black in particular. I don't know, maybe they could have just added, like, slightly more mischief to the smile, I guess is the best way of putting it. I mean, he is a marauder, after all. I don't know. I mean, I think that this face, the expression here, probably works better for Prisoner of Azkaban, but I feel as though for overall, for the character in full, including Order of the Phoenix as well, I think maybe just having a bit more mirth to his expression would have worked well. And speaking of Order of the Phoenix, you may remember how last year, with the Hogwarts Express, the Lupin in that set had a slight inaccuracy to Prisoner of Azkaban, where he actually had the stubble on his face from Order of the Phoenix. And the same thing is here with Sirius, not with stubble, but how his beard is definitely not as messy and unkempt as it was in Prisoner of Azkaban. And if you look at the sides of his mustache, I guess, you can see it comes to a little point on each end, which is not in Prisoner of Azkaban, but is in Order of the Phoenix. And honestly, I really hope that that and the Lupin face together mean that we are going to be getting a set next year of Grimmauld Place. Because, like, I know that a lot of people wanted the Chamber of Secrets, and a lot of people wanted the Shrieking Shack, but for me, the set I've always wanted, and that I really want to get with this line of Harry Potter sets, is Grimmauld Place. I don't know why, I've always really liked it, though. But yeah, but getting back on topic, so Sirius's main face is pretty good. His alternate face, though, is fantastic. This is just a super aggressive expression, which I think works really well. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. This is just a really good face. Again, not sure if it really works perfectly for the character. I mean, it's kind of interesting, because I will say that I really do like this for, well, when he's, like, screaming on the Daily Prophet, you know, throughout the whole movie, and that just, like, iconic thing. This is perfect for that. But I do think it is kind of odd, because in general, the expressions here, the expressions are very Prisoner of Azkaban, but then the facial hair is Order of the Phoenix, so it's a bit of a weird mishmash for me. I don't know. And I kind of wish that if they were going to go with the Order of the Phoenix thing, they would have just gone full Order of the Phoenix, since I think that that is Sirius's most memorable appearance in the films. I don't know, that's really a super subjective thing, but I don't know. Still a really great figure, though. Oh, one last thing to mention, the hairpiece. It's really interesting, because if you remember last year in the Hogwarts Express, they had Sirius using the Mad-Eye Moody hairpiece from the minifigure series. And just based on common logic, since the Moody hairpiece works basically perfectly for Sirius, to the point where I'm convinced that when they designed it for Moody, their real thought was, okay, so when we get Sirius Black in the sets, they won't have to spend mold budget on giving him a perfect hairpiece. But, so here they didn't do that, though. They used the Old Man Luke hairpiece from Star Wars The Bad One, and did it in dark brown, and honestly, this is really good. Like, I will just say straight up, for Prisoner of Azkaban, this works better. Like, okay, you can just see it, like, around the front with the hair, with the forehead, which gives him a very gaunt appearance. On the sides, it's very unkempt. It goes down slightly onto the torso. And at the back, you have some tears there, which is good. Just you can see a bit more of that there. But one thing I did want to test out, because recently at the LEGO store Build a Minifigure setup, they added in the Moody hairpiece in a regular brown, so I wanted to see how that looked, and yeah. I mean, again, I do feel as though this doesn't work as well for Prisoner of Azkaban, but they have to use this hairpiece for Order of the Phoenix. Preferably in dark brown, but honestly, even if it is just a normal brown, I will be perfectly fine with that, because this just looks so good for Order of the Phoenix. But removing that, because this isn't Order of the Phoenix, this is Prisoner of Azkaban. Yeah, so aside from a couple of subjective stupidities on my part, this is essentially a perfect Sirius minifigure. Yeah, there isn't much else to say. The figure's fantastic. Worth $20 on its own. Doesn't even matter if you like anything else in the set, although you totally should, because the set's really good. Get the set for this figure, he's worth it. Anyway, though, there are still 2 more minifigures. So, let's get to those now. And, they definitely won't be as nice as this cuddly doggo. That was a weird sentence, if you don't know that in fact Sirius is an animagus that turns into a cuddly doggo. Still weird, though. You know, if I wasn't so lazy, I would cut this out of the video, but unfortunately I'm lazy and tired, so moving on. So here we have one of the 2 identical new Dementors in the set. More on the new part in a minute, but for the most part, these are the same figures we got last year, which makes total sense, and they are really fantastic. And again, in case you weren't listening, you get 2 of them, which is nice. So, the Dementors. You can see that starting off at the back, they have these nice tattered capes, which are just very nicely done. Yeah. Then they have this half-transparent ghost tail piece at the bottom, which is double-molded. It is trans-clear with black, which just gives that really nice sort of partially shadowy look that the Dementors had in the books, which is definitely a nice sort of combination of the weird robed skeletons from the films with the just sort of literal shadows from the books. But anyway, on the torso, you can see the robes pressed up against the ribs with like some weird stuff hanging out inside, almost like organs. A single-sided face print with the cheekbones and the horrifying mouth. No alternate face with the mouth closed, but it's really not necessary. And then, just a black hood. But anyway, so to the reason why I said all the new Dementors, because no one else has covered this to my knowledge, but these Dementors in this set are slightly different than the ones we had last year. So let's see if I can catch the light right so you can see it. Okay, so... There, you can see right here how... when it gets hit by the light, you can see that all of the printing here has sort of a black outline to it. Like there's black printing on the black torso that's outlining everything, and that wasn't the case on the original Dementor from last year. On the original, there was no black outline, so there wasn't any black printing lighting up when you sort of held it in the light at the right place. And honestly, it's just such a small difference that I really don't see what the point was. Maybe it's cheaper to do it all as just one black stamp instead of printing directly onto the torso. I don't know, that's really only the reason I can think of, black grammar. Because, it really, again, from most angles, you can't tell, and there's really no aesthetic advantage to having it, so, yeah, just sort of a weird thing, but it's cool to get these guys again, especially cool to get 2 of them. Get a bunch of the set and you can have, like, a whole Dementor army. Yeah. Yeah, really great to get this Dementor again. Really great to get 2 of this Dementor again. Yeah. So that's the last minifigure in the set, so now let's move on to our, animal type thing. Yeah. So here we have our Stag Patronus, and yeah, I'm just gonna say it. This is a very pretty Lego piece. I really do love this. As you can tell, it is cast in a transparent light blue color, and it's filled with glitter. Yeah, for the sake of scaling, here it is compared to short teenage Harry Potter. And, yeah, it is made up of 3 pieces. You have the main new mold, plus a transparent 1x2 brick. Since it's transparent, it's the type with no tubes inside, which has been around since, I want to say, 1953. And then up top, you just have a standard 1x2 plate with no glitter. But anyway, for the main Stag, it's really well done. No articulation, but that's good because that would mess up the transparency of it. The legs are well done. The head is really good, and you can even sort of see where eyes would be just molded in. That's nice. You have ears, and of course, and then you have the antlers, which are made of a slightly different material that's more rubbery, and you can see that it's a bit of a different color. So that's just a good thing for stability's sake. And at the back, you also have just a cute little tail. I mean, yeah, this is really awesome. I imagine that this piece will be used in other lines. Like, I could see them using this in City, maybe in a Creator Winter Village set. And I definitely expect them to use this for Frozen 2 for what's the reindeer's name? Sven, that's it, Sven. And, but for now, the only real alternative way you can play with this is to have Harry riding it, which is honestly pretty incredible, so I'm just going to keep it like this, because, yeah, this is totally awesome, but enough about the Patronus. Now let's move on to the main build of this set, which is, funnily enough, potentially the least interesting part of it. But let's get to it, shall we? So for our playset, we get 2 main builds. We have this larger one that has the shoreline and a large tree. Then we have this one with just a smaller tree off to the side. Starting with the sort of larger of the 2. At the shore, you can see a bit of the lake, which is nice. We have a funny plant off to the side that looks quite dead, although that might just be because the Dementors have arrived. And then at the back, we have a little rocky outcropping, and that's where we can just sit Sirius up against here after battling with Remus. It makes sense, because he's, like, horribly wounded. Also, Dementors are coming to eat his soul, or whatever. And then this tree, both of the trees are very unique, because they're built basically entirely sideways. And that, like, they're built like this. So this is the bottom, this is the top. They're plate builds, which you can really see here from the back. Yeah. Not a good look from the back with that little red pin, but other than that, it's honestly not too bad. And from the front, they give a really spooky look. You have just all these leaves sticking straight up. The trunk has some great detailing to it, and something I found interesting, and I didn't even notice until I think the 3rd time I built the set, is that these leaves up here at the top, sort of at this angle, you don't attach them together and they don't go all the way down. You just sort of lay them on the pole and they don't connect together. It's kind of an odd thing, but I can't say it looks bad, just weird. And anyway, kind of a cool unintentional feature is because of the angle of those leaves, if you wanted to, you could attach the Dementors up there and sort of give the illusion that they're swooping down. I mean, yeah, I think that looks really good, because at first glance, you're not going to see the piece they're attached to, and the angle gives it a sort of, flight look, and that looks really good to me. And if you're going to display the set, I would definitely recommend doing that, since that's just a really good angle to have it at, in my opinion. But anyway, moving on to the smaller tree build, the design is pretty simple, just not as tall and with one less branch, but other than that, very similar. But what's good here is that you get a stud shooter attached to this transparent disc, which represents a non-corporeal Patronus. So you could just stand Harry about here, and you could have him be casting the spell. I just hit it off accidentally. But anyway, so you just have this disc with glitter in it, and you can just push the lever and fire it off. The idea, of course, being that you could use it to knock over a Dementor. So let's see if I can do it. He didn't fall, but that honestly kind of works, because remember, this is the non-corporeal Patronus, the weak version. So with this, it's probably not going to even defeat the Dementor, and if it does, it'll only defeat one. So that includes two. And this works, because just pulling this guy down again, with the Stag, you'll automatically be playing with it just with yourself, under your own power. So you can just obliterate the Dementors. I mean, yeah. And that's basically how it works. Destroy them until there's nothing left. I mean, really, that's all there is to this set. You get these two nice builds, you get some awesome figures, and you get Rudolph here. Just kidding, it's actually prongs. Please don't leave comments about how dumb I am, and that's obviously not Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That was a poor joke. I'm not funny. Anyway, so yeah, that's the builds and the figures, but before we wrap up this video, we'll take a look at the box, instruction manual, and the extra pieces. So, let's do that now, shall we? Here's the box. It's quite a long box. You can see up top you have the Harry Potter logo, in gold this time instead of silver like it was last year. Top right you have our three heroes, depicted from Order of the Phoenix. At the bottom right, you have the Wizarding World logo. Bottom left, you have our figures. And just on the left, we have a column with all of our information. The image on the front does a good job of displaying everything you get in the set. Both trees, the four figures, and the glittery stag. Up top, you have all the figures with Sirius showing the actual size. At the side, you have the same image on the front. Here we have a Lego Life ad. And on the back, we have boxes showing the stud shooter, and then just Harry with his Patronus. And then this main image on the back is another pretty good one, with Harry from the past tending to Sirius while the Dementors soar overhead. Oh, and if you couldn't tell, obviously, the Harry we have here and the one that cast the Patronus is future Harry. And no, I don't think it's worthy of a complaint that the set doesn't include two Harrys, because that would be dumb. Especially since Harry comes in two other sets. That works pretty well for reenacting the time travel. Anyway, moving on to the instruction manual, which is made of paper as usual. You have a barcode here. Not a barcode, a QR code. I can think and speak. But, and that's that if you want to, you can just scan the instructions with your tablet. I don't know why you can't just go to lego.com to get the instructions, or even better, just use the instruction manual, but I don't know, some people are weird. But anyway, you have this guy that tells you how sorting works. You have it's explaining how QR codes work. The set has a total of 43 pages of building, and I think because of that, and this is kind of a lengthy build in general for such a small part count, so it feels like the set has way more pieces than it actually does when you're building it. Then after that, we just get an image of everything set up. We get an ad for, pieces, I guess. Then we have an ad for 4 of the 5 new sets, the parts list, and a Win minifig. Still wonder what happened to Win Kid. Okay, so that's that. Now, extra pieces. We get a fair amount. Just laying them out here. None of them are overly exciting, though we do get some good ones at least. We get this pole piece in brown, 3-long stick, which is cool. As I mentioned prior, we do get a spare wand, which is still, I think, kind of cool to get. Definitely not super cool after I got 10,000 of them from the minifigure series, but, you know, nice to have. And we also have the newer style of the wand sprue, which is an interesting thing. I do think it's odd that they changed it so quickly after they released the original sets. I don't know. This one doesn't look as cool, but it is more effective with making the wands look better. But definitely the best extra piece you get in the set is this flower stalk piece in brown, which I don't think is uncommon, but this is the first set I have with any of them. This is just a really cool piece to me. So yeah, those are the extras. But that's that. So now let's move on to the final verdict for this set. So, for $20, would I recommend Lego Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, set number 75945, Expecto Patronum? Yes. I think that overall this is a really good $20 set. For the minifigures, Harry's not exclusive, but it is a really good figure, and actually this is like the one case outside of like Stormtroopers where it's really good to get duplicates, because there were 2 Harrys in this scene, so if you get this set and another one, you can more accurately depict this scene from the movie, which is very cool. Sirius is just such a good character to get, and they did him nearly flawlessly. Despite my nitpicks, the figure is really quite well done. The Dementors are great to get again. The Stag is beautiful, really. I don't want to repeat myself since that's what I called it earlier, but there really aren't many other words for it. Pretty. Yeah, there we go. That's a new one. And then the trees for the build are really well done. Not only are they super detailed, but because of sort of the very non-repetitive fashion in which you build them, and it just ends up taking a good amount of time, and it feels like the set has way more than 121 pieces. Like, the set feels like, I'd say about a 300-piece build, really, which is just a really nice thing. And, yeah, the trees also just look really nice, kind of spooky. They definitely set the scene from the movie. The shoreline is nice. I like the plant. Yeah. Oh, and also the glitter is a nice touch. Normally, I really don't like Lego pieces with glitter in them, but I feel so the glitter with this trans-light blue really works well, and it's kind of like the only glitter color combination I really like in Lego. So yeah, there really isn't much else to say. This is just a fantastic $20 set. I would definitely recommend you pick it up. Don't wait. I mean, hey, I had to get this day one. I mean, I don't know why you'd wait. We had to wait for this set. I mean, come on, it's the first Sirius Black figure in 15 years. For this figure, I waited 15 years in an assortment of places, none of which were Azkaban, but, you know, still. So it's great to get Sirius, and again, that is my favorite thing about the set. But the Stag is also really good. Yeah, I'm just repeating myself. The set's fantastic. Pick it up. I'm not going to say it's my favorite of the new ones, just because, like, all of them are really good. But this is, I'd say, the second best $20 set Lego's done in a long time. I say second best because of the other Harry Potter $20 set coming this year, which I'm going to say, before I get it, is going to be the best $20 set of all time. But this probably makes it into the top 10, I'd say. But anyway, that's basically all I have for this video. A phrase which here means that is literally all I have for this video. So thank you all so much for watching it. Don't know why you did, but, I mean, hey, if you've made it this far, then you watched the video for some reason. So thank you, and I hope to see you in the next one. Good night, I suppose. Oh, and mischief managed.